All right, hello everyone. It's Mystic Juicer back with some more Yomi action, Yomi 2 action specifically. And I've got the second tournament that has been run by Bob199. Just small tournament while Yomi 2 is in early access. This is grand finals between cpat and Janet. Cpat, by the way, shoutouts to cpat. First of all, giving me permission to do a little after the fact cast. I've already watched the set and I thought there was some cool stuff going on. cpat, very strong Yomi player. Janet is an incredibly strong Yomi 2 player, very active in playtesting during the playtesting period. And so, you know, a great example of high level play happening in this match and some interesting stuff to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it and see what's going on. So this is going to be cpat playing White Grave versus Janet on Purple Jaina. Here we go. Okay, turn one goes to cpat, so he is going to have speed ties go his way. He's going to start off with a power up, immediately getting 2 meter here, not getting any super back from discard. So one of each of your supers starts off in discard, but he does have a Dragon Heart in hand already. And we've got a Fireball Clash as the first combat result here in the game. Unfortunately, the game does not yet have spectator mode, so I can't actually go and live commentate, which would be my ideal, my preferred method of doing commentary. But we'll see what we can glean here. Janet starting off with Future Sight, so that's going to get, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, draw 2, put the rest back in any order. So we've got an 11 card hand on Janet's side and a 7 card hand here on cpat's side. And I think this is a great, I'm just going to pause briefly because this is way faster now that I'm talking over it than when I was watching it casually earlier. It's a great illustration of the differences in terms of hand sizes, right? And what hand sizes mean in this game versus in Yomi 1, right? Yomi 1, you start off with 7 cards in hand. 7 cards is generally, just on the edge of where you can afford to be aggressive, right? You can maybe do a little combo. You can maybe just get an empty throw, but you want to block. Like if you have something that recurs, that's a good place to play it. But it's kind of on the lower end of where you can occasionally get aggressive because cards are not double-sided in Yomi 2. Your actual effective hand size here, right? If we look at only the cards in cpat's hand here that can actually deal damage, we've got 4, and if you exclude burst, which deals 1 and is going to let you draw a card, you actually only have 3 effective cards in hand. So actually really difficult from this position for cpat to actually threaten much aggression. He's got a couple of recurring options. So, hit low block and high block if successful, or if not hit, will return to hand, and Lightning Cloud as well will return to hand. So from Janet's perspective, I would be thinking, okay, well, I don't mind actually if I get supered here, right? It's going to reduce hand size, it's going to spend the meter, and then in order to get that threat back, it's going to be much more difficult to get anything going. So I think the low block is kind of interesting. I think maybe Janet was specifically looking to block White Burst, right? Because you know what gem your opponents are playing, you know what their bursts do. That may have been a position where Janet felt that cpat would go for a burst, knowing that he was kind of stuck on the back foot. So by simply, blocking or playing conservatively there, not playing the burst, is able to get up to quite a large hand size. actually missed that combat entirely because I was still talking through the first turn. Anyway, 12 card hand for Janet. Starting playing arc shot as well. Great position to get aggressive. The only challenge here is going to be the 3 meter on cpat's side. Kind of spooky to play an attack, to play specifically not a projectile. And yeah, trying to get aggressive, also kind of challenging. So the D there, the slow overhead from Janet, kind of a hard read, a little bit of a hard read there. It does have the arc shot, of course, to prevent that from being particularly scary, but notably played a card that lost to both of the scariest possible responses that cpat could have made, which is True Power of Storms, dodge into 40, or Dragonheart into 20. Arc shot would have prevented any combos, so couldn't really like White Star Strike to undercut, etc., etc. Yeah, there we got the speed tie because it is cpat's turn. He does break the tie, builds the additional meter with White Star Strike, gets the free card, which is great, and then combo into 20. And already, I mean, yeah, you're seeing the speed of Yomi 2 games. When things go well for you, the games can be quite short. No jokers, right, to keep to force you to hold back during combos. The thing that's really going to limit your combos is, again, that kind of like reduced effective hand size, because you do have, you start every game with your burst and 2 blocks in hand, which are not really cards for aggression. So just having a look at the discard pile, we've got both blocks in discard for Janet. So yeah, evaluating cpat, thinking about whether he's going to burst here. 10 card hand on Janet's side versus an 8 card hand on cpat. Again, kind of on that edge, especially 8 cards with a win summon in hand, which is not, a combat card. Can't be used in combos. Grave does not have anything he can pump, just random cards too. So Janet going in, getting the relatively safe dodge there. Does not have the ability to block because, again, both blocks are in the discard and you only ever get those 2. And I feel like over the course of this game, I'm wondering how effective the triggering Jaina's innate is actually for her in this specific matchup. So Jaina, is her innate in Yomi 2 is that if you have both your low block and your high block in your discard, during the end of your main phase, you get to draw a card. So she can kind of get more fuel than usual. But the problem, especially against Grave here, is Dragonheart, right? Dragonheart is 15 speed. It's the fastest speed in the game. It deals 20 damage. It's a really big chunk. It is a very effective deterrent for playing around specifically Arc Shot, her ability. And not having any blocks in hand to respond to it means that the only way around it that you have is your dodges, which is fine, right? You still get to hit, right? Like if you beat it with a block or a dodge, you still get to hit back with one move. That is equivalent. Very fast game 1 to cpat there. However, blocking it gets you +1 card. Or +2 cards, I guess, compared to the exchange, because you keep the block and then you also draw a card for blocking and then you get to hit back. So having a block in hand versus having a dodge, even though you win combat both ways, may be more discouraging. I don't know. I know that they played earlier in this tournament. This is grand finals that I'm looking at. So maybe that was something that Janet tried out and found didn't work. Not sure. All right, we got another fireball clash here to start things off. So both of them kind of building up. cpat considering powering up the whirlwinds. Whirlwinds, especially having two of them in hand, obviously values the meter much more. Yeah, that's an interesting. It's an interesting purple burst from Janet there. Not sure exactly. Yeah, it could be a hand composition thing. Already had the other throw. cpat had what? 7 cards in hand. Again, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why that burst hit, to be quite honest. I'm not sure what that was looking for. Okay, yeah, just shutting down, a high card Jaina there with DP. Pretty standard. Gets the 3rd meter, gets Dragonheart in hand, exchanges for a throw. Still on 7 cards. Yeah, this is where he's going for white burst. So again, first turn or first game, we had a very similar situation. Yeah, where Janet... I'm trying to think what exactly the situation was. Hold on, let me go back to that. So we're at 9:14. Just want to see what the response was, because I feel like this was it's kind of a setup situation here. Yeah, so very similar situation to right here, where fairly low on cards, very early in the game, went for the block here, looking for the burst. cpat got away with the lightning cloud and then kind of set up from there. This time around, played the A to presumably beat the fireball, and got hit with the burst instead. So cpat coming ahead of that exchange. Notably, still only on 8 cards, and with main damage here just being Dragonheart. One of the interesting dynamics with the turns, the way that turns work in this game too, is that it's often, while it's easier for you to win combat when it's your turn, so it's easier for you to be aggressive, to successfully be aggressive on your turn, it's actually kind of cheaper or safer to unload on your opponent's turn. Because after you spend 5 cards, you immediately draw 2, right? So your combo is actually kind of like quote unquote less. It feels less expensive. You spend less time at low hand than if you win combat and unload on your own turn, right? When it's easier. So yeah, Yomi 2 has like a lot of interesting little dynamic things like that are that I'm looking forward to exploring. All right. Definitely feeling the speed of the game. These players are way faster than I am at making decisions, especially live on commentary. I'm a little rusty. It's been a long time since I've done that. So thank you for bearing with me. But it's very exciting to be able to commentate some card games again. So going for the Wind Summon, powering up projectiles, or his projectiles, so they are now level 2, so they will clean beat Jaina's level 1 projectiles. They also beat dodges. Yeah, so Janet just going, you know what, okay, if you're going to play Lightning Cloud, go for it. The threat of burst is out of the way. Has no indication that cpat has, took the risk essentially of like a completely naked, True Power of Storms dodge there. Obviously no indication, very early in the game, so odds are low. There's only a 1 of in the deck, so pretty low odds that it's there in the hand. But does get a little bit of damage in as a result. Okay, it's changing a high for the A. Does have both blocks in the discard, so it does take 2 damage, draws an extra card. threat of A here. And it's a similar situation here again, where, again, the Dragonheart play here would be just a little bit scarier if Janet had a block in hand that she could threaten. Because then on your turn, right, you're able to, maybe set up a throw, maybe just go into super, right? Jaina has a 1 meter super that can be pumped for a fair amount of damage. And then being able to offset the cost of that super play with the recurring block and the card you draw, makes that a little bit cheaper, can sustain that aggression now, could sustain that aggression maybe on the following turn, maybe make cpat reevaluate kind of what he's going to play or how he's going to play it. Very large hand now for cpat, kind of can do essentially whatever he wants here in terms of aggression. Does have, Dragonheart, 15 speed, threat to kind of get away with, overheads. I mean, at this point, there's no point in doing any overheads because you're only Janet's only defensive option is to dodge. But that also simplifies cpat's options, right? It's either Dragonheart or throw, and then a little bit of something else mixed in. So in this case, has a very scary turn he can present here to Janet, right? Between a 15 speed, 20 damage super, or throw into knockdown. Either way, it's only going to cost 1 card, and then next turn is going to set up, he's going to draw 2, he's going to be able to exchange, all that sorts of fun stuff. Does get the hit here, Janet. Combos directly into the super, equalizing the life totals a little bit. Now, notably, does not have any super meter, though. Yeah, only has the 1A, I believe, still known in hand? No, actually, no, probably not. Okay, yeah, gets throw. And then, because he is playing Grave, does have the option of exchanging a second time. But, again, doesn't really need to. Has the A in hand, so has the dominant normal at 8 speed. That was a little too fast. Sorry, I just want to come back to Janet's discard. See where we're at in terms of options. Yeah, both. So we've got 1 dodge still available. Notably, both of the phase outs still potentially in play here. Yeah, I think that's, and a fair amount of throws. Yeah, no super meter means Dragonheart or is going to be uncontestable. Yeah, has the dodge. Do we have a throw? I believe Janet recurred throw. Yeah, okay, perfect. So now we've got, it's a pretty nice situation here for Janet. He's going to be sitting on 8 cards in hand. cpat with without 2 meter, so does not have Dragonheart. So this is kind of a spooky situation. Okay, getting 1 meter back. Sorry, getting 1 for power up. Scroll down, please. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, does not have Dragon's Breath in hand. Interesting. So got 1 meter just for Dragonheart? Or for Red Dragon? I don't know. Like this would be so much spookier for cpat. I feel like if there was a possibility of threatening normal chain, so overhead. I can't even really do it though because B's and C's are both in the discard. Just pause here. B's and C's are both in discard, right? So you have the low. So you can threaten, right? These are the two overheads here, which we all have one of in the discard. The issue though, so you could say, okay, well you have threat of overhead into next normal. That builds you the meter, and then you can combo to Dragonheart, but you don't have that mix off of the A. So it's actually a weaker mix-up than it could be, unfortunately. If 1B here was unknown, you could present, even if you didn't have it in hand, your opponent would at least have to kind of decide between those two sides of the mix-up. On the other hand, you could threaten either the low or the overhead into crossfire kicks, into some damage. Could have the other flame arrows. That's still some potential damage on the table, but certainly much less of a bad situation for cpat. And yeah, I'd probably high block here. It's certainly, it's playing pure odds. The high block is more likely to succeed. Yeah, okay, there you go. So that's fine. And it kind of also tells us that Janet maybe doesn't really have anything to threaten in hand. It was what? It was 5 chip, 36. 36 is a lot to try to blow through. Could potentially have mounted something like gotten him maybe to 15 or something, but then finding that last 15 damage, you'd still need like super +1 pump, or something like that, and then you wouldn't probably have lethal off of throw, so you're still kind of playing 2 turns. So just kind of even though it's kind of a spooky situation to be knocked down by Jaina, in that case, because of the circumstances, not as terrible for cpat there, and good on him to elect to play pretty conservative. Okay, gets the wind summon, no other ability, and really nothing to do with it other than play it, so might as well. Makes your lightning cloud just a little bit spookier. We're going to see a power up here. Does still have an exchange, so can exchange an A. Okay, gets the 2 super meters, so does have Dragonheart and True Power of Storms as a threat. Yeah, picks up the throw. And again, now Janet having to deal with the mix-up. Okay, why the lightning cloud? We know Janet has the fireball. Does have both Dragonheart and White Star Strike to close out the game here. White Star Strike beats the fireball as well. We know there's no dodges in hand, I believe. Can't remember if there was an exchange there, but I think there might be no dodges in hand. Maybe specifically calling out, no blocks in hand, I want to say. Maybe specifically calling out a phase out, in which case Janet nicely undercutting here, playing the 8-speed crossfire kick, which was also lower odds based on, kind of our analysis of the way the last turn went. Okay. Fair amount of damage there, yeah. That was how much? $26 damage, not bad. Not bad at all. Did it on Graves' turn, so now gets to go back up to a far healthier 7 cards in hand. is going to get the opportunity to exchange. Yeah, so phase out, 2 phase outs still potentially in play. Seven cards versus 6. Yeah, goes for the Gemstorm, so is going to have more combo points and does have the edge this turn. So yeah, tough situation here. So everything except Dragonheart. I mean, so okay, from the mix-up from Graveside, just play Dragonheart, beat literally everything except phase out. Throw to beat the phase out. That's the mix from Graves' side. So no way to play safe to both sides of that mix-up, right? You got the pure 50-50 from Jaina's end. So it just kind of has to make a call on which is more likely. Notably here, has no blocks in hand. Notably, another factor here is we've got Graves' ability is in play, so his super is 2 combo points. So throw into Dragonheart is lethal, whereas raw Dragonheart is not. Would have to play White Star Strike. Or sorry, no, actually no, because of the... Never mind. Ignore the whole thing I was going on about because I forgot about recklessness taking her life total down to 20. So it is a pure 50-50 here. So really a question of how much do you believe as... I think also the Gemstorm may be kind of trying to imply to cpat like, oh, I don't really... I might not have the phase outs. You know, maybe I need the threat of the Gemstorm to like convince you that I don't have the phase outs or something like that, or make the alternative to the phase outs. I don't know. Could be just doing it for noise. Like I might as well. It's gonna be one of us is dying in the next combat. 2 throws in the discard. So could also threaten. Has dominant throw. I mean, had dominant throw even without the Gemstorm. So for cpat, the decision here is really, do I believe in phase out or not? So maybe one other thing to say about this situation is, had Janet brought back a block, she could have pushed cpat to have to commit, right? It diffuses the pure 50-50. With 22 health, pure Dragonheart is not lethal, so you can't, right? You get a, you know, you kind of take it off the table as a neutral reveal. Not really, but like, even if it hits, you still get another opportunity on your next turn to try to get this last 5 damage, right? And you would have edge through Gemstorm. So you have dominant throw, you have dominant attack, like you outspeed, you know, White Star Strike. You potentially, depending on what you have in hand, I'm trying to think. Let's see, A is 8, B 7, C 6, 5. So you have an 8-speed overhead in D, which is too slow on, you know, on Graves' turn. But this turn, you would have the dominant overhead, right? If you had a D in hand, to play this range. Do have to think about True Power of Storms more, but that maybe sets you up for a stronger throw, right? Because your throw covers both throw and True Power of Storms, right? There's, I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I am interested to see what Janet thinks about not playing for recklessness, or turning recklessness on and off more dynamically, maybe. blocked for the phase out. And yeah, so from what I remember, cpat was like thinking like, oh, maybe there's some kind of block play, and obviously went for the block play, but there's no reason to go for it. Like you just have the 50-50 right off of Dragonheart or throw. The block play, as we saw, right? Like it slightly beats phase out, but in comparison to just winning, like obviously you lose if you play the Dragonheart, but you've now kind of just deferred this decision by one turn. And it's not like your hand has changed in any way. You could maybe argue that Janet's hand has weakened slightly because there's one less phase out in it. But you still have, again, 7 cards in hand versus 6 or 5 cards in deck. The odds of the second phase out are essentially the same, right? And I think cpat said as much for his own, like on the video itself. So just a slight misplay there. Yep, and then elects to play the Dragonheart. There's now only one. Yeah, there's only one out against Dragonheart, and it's whether Janet has it or not. And in this case, Janet had it. All right, 1-1 in grand finals. cpat is in on winner's side. So needs one more game to close things out. Okay, so Janet starting off. Immediate arc shot. Has an opportunity here to do something. Immediate white burst from cpat. And throw from Janet. So this throw basically guaranteeing some amount of damage. Because arc shot will deal 8 damage or 8 or 7 damage, whatever it is, if your opponent opens with an attack, and deals some block damage if they block. And since you have the dominant throw on your turn, because both characters have a 5-speed throw, you can always force kind of a good. You can quote unquote air quotes around always and air quotes around good situation. If you have a high enough life total, right, you can guarantee certain checkmates. Okay, cpat's turn now has dominant speed, A attack in neutral. Yeah, and finds the high block. So Janet looking for a cheeky overhead from cpat, and gets slightly exploded. 22 damage right off the bat, or 23 damage. Yeah. And now we reset. So cpat has the ideal do nothing and wait for next turn hand with fireballs and both blocks in hand. So low block and fireball together are an incredibly powerful defensive range. Both sides of it recur. So if you win combat with either of them, or at least don't lose combat, don't get hit. If you play either of them, they both come back. So you're always in a pretty good situation. The only way for Jaina to beat a fireball is going to lose to low block. Unless she has the edge, which she didn't. So very, very strong defensive and kind of resource positive mix. And cpat playing very, very conservative now. Lots of blocking, lots of fireball. Just kind of sitting there. Does not want to get exploded. Another arc shot. So as Purple Jaina can play the arc shots kind of as she draws them. The challenge, though, is that she's never really she hasn't really built to a massive hand yet. 8-card hand here, I would mostly, as cpat, be worried about like Purple Burst or Phase Out to try to get one of the arc shots back. Yeah, there we go. Plays the block, covers both of those options. Not supremely worried about getting thrown or overheaded. Throw is the cheaper of those two aggressive options because you can empty throw, you can just set them up with a knockdown and then try to play a mix-up game the next turn, or block something. If you get hit with an attack, the potential damage you're taking is higher. However, again, very kind of low hand size. So both of those arc shots not really setting up very powerful and threatening situations. Okay, Janet's turn, 9-card hand. Starting to get up there now. Kind of 10 cards is like where you are very comfortable kind of going in. And if you think about that again in Yomi 1 terms, you've got your 10-card hand, you remove the 2 blocks that you can't do anything aggressive with, you remove the burst, you're at a 7-card hand, right? A fairly developed hand. Okay. Both blocks and discard, 1 of each super, 1 phase out, 2 dodges potentially in play. I don't think you were too worried about getting dodged. Okay, gets the lightning cloud anyway, is now also sitting at 10 cards. Very comfortable position here for cpat. Believe Jaina is missing at least 1A, or has 1A in the discard. cpat exchanging for a throw. Yeah, the recklessness does mean that you kind of don't care as Jaina's opponent, like whether you have high-low mix-up, because it's just purely a matter of like, can you outspeed the scary stuff that she's threatening to play? Yeah, good position to get aggressive here. Is at 10 cards exactly. So all the cards that he plays during Gemstorm, the first 3 cards that he plays during Gemstorm are going to return to hand each turn. So when it runs out and comes back to his turn, he's going to draw up to 12. So he's not going to overdraw. At the same time, though, who cares if you overdraw? Like, you have everything you really could want to have in hand. You have your super, you have an 8-speed attack through White Star Strike that gives you super meter. You have 2 throws. You have, good combo fodder in throw D, lightning cloud. So it doesn't really matter if you overdraw. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're whatever. Oh, I'm so sad, I overdrew, bad management. Like, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you have everything you want in hand, who cares what you discard? Like, there is really nothing that he could draw into and discard that would even matter all that much. Oh, really? Oh, this is such an awful combat to lose for Janet here. Went for the guaranteed throw, and at least, well, actually no, that's sorry, I misspoke. I forgot that arc shot actually shuts down combo opportunities. So the White Star Strike, ordinarily you'd combo into Dragonheart, but you can't do that because of arc shot, so it doesn't really, Janet gets to avoid the situation. However, even with the arc shots played, cpat just hasn't been opened up by any of them. So yeah, sitting on 3 meter, 2 Dragon Hearts in hand, lots of power up fodder, is going to have the throw back in hand. Could afford to get rid of the dodge, probably. Purple Burst hasn't been played yet, so you always have to consider that 14 speed option. Okay, just do it. Yeah, makes sense. Jaina's sitting at 10 cards, is going to draw up to 12 on the next turn. We know she has both blocks in discard. And so, and I think there was at least one. Yeah, okay, so there was a normal dodge, and I believe already one phase out in the discard as well. So very high odds that, two phase outs in the discard. So Dragonheart is like getting closer and closer to checkmate. So yeah, those situations of like just looking at your opponent's discard and saying like, oh, your odds of this are just, are whatever, are so low. It doesn't even matter all that much. If you're wrong there, like the worst thing that happens to you is dodge into throw, or dodge into red dragon for, in this case, I don't know. I always miss the damage numbers because they only show it during the actual the assemblage of the combo and not afterwards. Anyway, not all that much damage. Nothing to worry about all that much. Janet now still needing to deal 34 damage. Feasible, definitely feasible for Jaina. But has no super meter. Maybe last turn might have needed to play or go for a Gemstorm. Was it 36 health? Like pretty close to end game. There's known Dragonhearts in hand. Yeah, just goes for the dodge. Very safe here. Yeah. And gets Purple Burst. And that is game and set and tournament. So nicely played by cpat. Yeah, like I mentioned, very very cool game. I think there's a lot to so cpat is has been putting out tons and tons of videos actually. So go ahead, search for cpat on YouTube. 69 subscribers, while extremely nice, is way too low for the quality of the content that he is putting out. So go ahead, and if you're interested in learning about Yomi 2, you're interested in watching high-level play and hearing cpat's thoughts. Cpat is, narrates throughout all of his matches. It's good practice. I'm learning a ton, and I'm not just like about the way he's thinking about the game, but also developing my thinking about the game. It's week 2. No, it might only. Yeah, no, I think it's week 2 of Yomi 2 being out in early access. The game is still very, very early in terms of like meta. Everybody is like, even though Janet and has been involved in playtesting for a while now. cpat has obviously played a ton of Yomi 1 and has played Yomi 2 as well. Further back, kind of around the time that I was playtesting it, actively. But there's a lot to develop. It's definitely, things are still in their infancy in terms of like kind of correct play and stuff like that. It's a very exciting time to be thinking about the game and to be playing it. And so, I highly recommend, if you are interested in developing your understanding of the game, and you're interested in doing that in a way that doesn't require you to actually play, do give it a watch. I think you'll have like interesting ideas about the game as you see what happens, and cpat explains what he's doing and what he's thinking, even when he's wrong, like when he blocked on that one turn. But that's okay. Sometimes you make a read and it doesn't pay off. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I will bring you some more content very soon. Cheers.